Welcome back to the SHODcast. This is week 6, heading into week 7. Your host, Matt McKenney, Mike Height, I'm Sean Klein. It's been another great week in the show. Matt, first comments.
Just another awesome week of football in general. And the Shod is happy to bring a recap to you. I think one of the cool things right now is the show is more competitive than it's ever been. So that makes it more entertaining for everybody.
Mike, any comments before we head into the show?
Just another great weekend of games. Obviously tough loss last night for the Bills, but I mean, I have no.
Hey, they'll rebound, right?
No problems with the decision to go for it on fourth down.
All right, we left off the SHODcast with this last week. Can you guess who this guy is? These were the hints we gave. 2011 Steelers wide receiver. He put up 211 points in the show that year, and he helped Ground McNair beat on Matt's team, the Rusty Truckers, in week 5 of that year, 106.6 to 75.2. Matt, Mike, any guesses?
I don't know.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Mike Wallace. Not in the Steelers wide. The Steelers.
I don't even remember him being on the Eagles at any point.
No, I don't either.
I think it was that year because this image was actually taken from ESPN of that year. So I don't know where they got their images from, but the player we were looking for was Mike Wallace. Let's dive into the scores. Matt, first game up. Trek coming up with the win, 167 to 120 over the Flutie Flakes. Who gave it to him?
Yeah, another huge point game for Trek. He's putting up a lot of points this year, and Kyler Murray continues to, lead the MVP discussion, another 25.76 points. But how about Derrick Henry with over 150 yards, I believe, and 3 touchdowns in that game, just absolutely, powering the Titans to victory this week.
My goodness, what a monster. Van Buren boys over Muppet Nation, 150 to Muppet Nation put up an 88. And Mike, this was your game of the week last year, or your dog's game of the week, I should say.
Yep, no, I got this very wrong. I had a lot of faith in the Chargers offense, which obviously did not come to fruition. And I don't know, some big games there from CeeDee Lamb, and Burrow had a pretty good game too.
Yeah, nothing was really going right for the nation. Rusty Truckers, Matt, your team came up short to NWO. What happened in this game?
Yeah, certainly. Well, a couple different things. Obviously, the quarterback play was much better for New World Order. Jalen Hurts, 25 points, and Tom Brady, almost 18 points in that game. Not huge numbers, but when you're going up against Daniel Jones, who struggled to score in the positives last week, obviously you're at a big disadvantage. And Tyreek Hill, kind of injured going into that game, but ended up scoring 22.6 points. So that's what got it done for NWO.
Armin Tanzarian puts up a low-scoring win over My Team Is Fine. Mike, break it down.
Yeah, kind of an ugly game. Hopkins was kind of the star of the team. No fan had a big game. Other than that, really not much going on the dog side. They really missed McCaffery. And
Feel the Rush coming up with a 148 to 104 win over the last place Charbacues. Who did it for Feel the Rush, Matt?
Well, the newly acquired Dak Prescott, obviously on Sunday Night Football, was a big part of this victory. 30.8 points, and winning that game in overtime, which was a thrilling end to the Sunday of football. And Aaron Jones continues to be a force, top 5 or 6 running back in the league this year. So he's powering Feel the Rush to victory as well.
Feel the Rush moving up the power rankings. Jay Walsh football team 140 over your team, Height, Lafferty Daniel. What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't help that my starting quarterback Ben can only throw the ball 5 yards downfield, so that's right where Najee's hanging out all game, and he caught a bunch of balls, so that's a big part of the loss.
Jay Walsh with only 1 QB coming up with the win. And Fat Jim's 165 over Rafi to 155. Very close game there. Matt, what happened?
Yeah, for sure. Both teams putting up some good numbers. I called the Fat Jims the most underrated team in the show right now. And I think, he responded with, an affirmative with this week's
They showed us why.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Thielen was absolutely on fire in that game, almost 30 points. Very impressive for the Vikings.
And heading into this week's SHODcast injury report, we have 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 injuries to talk about. The first one, Christian McCafferey. Matt, what's going on there?
Yeah, so we know that McCaffrey's been injured for a few weeks now, but the significant thing is that he's now gone to injured reserve, which basically pushes out his return to play an additional 3 weeks. The reason why this is concerning is because he's got a hamstring injury, and he wasn't initially right away immediately put on IR. So it's now 2 or 3 weeks later, and he's just now going on the IR, which means he's at least going to be out for a total of 5 weeks. This leads me to believe that initially they had been thinking good things about potentially his recovery and return to play within a couple of weeks, and so they elected not to put him on the IR. And now we're seeing that he's going to the IR, which it makes me feel like there was probably a setback in his rehabilitation, and this may be a nagging injury. I fear this might last, a long time, and maybe even be like a season-threatening injury for him at this point in time.
Maybe even career-defining. Maybe not career-ending, but career-defining. We've seen a lot of running backs have their careers defined by a single injury or two. The next one, Dawson Knox. What happened to him, Matt? He wasn't throwing the ball pretty well, but he did get a touchdown out of it.
Yeah, I think it was a 2-point conversion, if I remember correctly. Was
it? Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Conversion or 2-point conversion. Anyway, so Dawson Knox, they say he's got a hand fracture, which to me means he probably has a metacarpal fracture. If there's any other fracture in the hand, it's either the fingers or it's the wrist. Basically it's the metacarpals that are fractured. And for somebody who's a pass catching tight end, this is kind of a little bit of an issue. If you are a blocking tight end or a lineman or a defensive back or something, you could just, put a cast on, tape that thing up and play with a club. But when you're trying to catch footballs, it's pretty tough to not have both hands. So I would imagine this is an injury that's going to bother him for, probably 4 weeks or so. I don't think he's going to necessarily be out for that long. It really depends on A, how much pain he's having, B, what the x-rays look like, C, the nature of the fracture, and D, whether or not they can stabilize the area enough for him to play safely but also effectively.
Even if he is on the field, I'd be surprised if he's catching as many passes as he was earlier in the season. Next up, the Browns and Baker Mayfield. Dislocated shoulder. How long is he going to be out for?
Yeah, you can see that left arm is kind of, pinned back behind him in that manner. And this is not the first time that Baker Mayfield's had problems with shoulder instability. Luckily for Baker, he is right-handed, and this is his non-throwing shoulder that's affected. So there's talk about him not missing any time at all. He does have a short week that he has to prepare for. The Browns are playing on Thursday this week against Denver, and so it's going to be a short turnaround, and that may impact his ability to play. So there is some concern there, but it really depends on how much he can tolerate going through the discomfort and the pain that comes with having that shoulder being unstable without a chance to really properly rehabilitate the injury.
And Mayfield not the only one banged up on the Browns offense. Also, their backfield, both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Yeah, both of them are.
Talk about.
Yeah, both of them are calf injuries, as far as I understand. I watched clips of both of the injuries. It looked like Nick Chubb kind of got rolled up on a little bit. Didn't look too severe. Nothing that looked like it was involving the Achilles tendon, which is important. And then, with Kareem Hunt's injury, it was kind of funny. He was like kind of coming out of a block out of the backfield and kind of making himself available for a pass and just kind of clutched his calf area. So, they both seem like, relatively benign soft tissue strains of the calf muscles. And I would imagine that this is something that's not going to keep them out for too long. But being that they're running backs, obviously they have to rely on those legs and they have to be healthy enough to play. So at this point in time, having your entire backfield hobbled, especially in an offense that really focuses on the run, it's going to be a problem.
And especially on a short week, the Browns play on Thursday. Heading into our power rankings this week, I don't think the bottom's changing much. We have the Elbarbo Charbacues heading into number 13.
Me. Not a good week for the boys.
Number 12.
Armin Tamzarian. I know he got a win last week, but I'm still just not impressed with his team.
Number 11, I think the Jay Walsh football team moved up a little bit into that spot, heading into number 10.
Yeah, Vince is really tumbling down the rankings right now. The loss of McCaffery is really showing through.
Yeah, and I believe he's blaming Snoop for that drop in rankings too. The last 2 weeks, Snoop is picking the win, and Snoop was wrong. Number 9, the Rusty Truckers. Matt, are you changing much there?
No, not really. I mean, this is a team that is, again, kind of hobbled by some injuries, and last week went down because Kamara was on a bye and the quarterback stunk. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Leapfrogged by Rafi Bombs at number 8. At number 7, Mike.
Feel the rush. I don't know. They're a decent team. They belong kind of right in the middle of everybody.
Sneaky good. This is where I think the power rankings start shifting. We have a strong top 6 in the league this year, something that, Matt, you touched on earlier on in the show. Number 6 is your brother. Talk about his team.
Yeah, the Fat Jims, I think they're kind of starting to really ramp things up a little bit and, kind of come into their own. So it might be a time to kind of push up the rankings here for the Fat Jims with some more wins.
Yep, they moved up a spot. Number 5, Trek. This one was tough. Was tough for me to decide because Trek has a really good team. Actually, the number 1 scoring team in the show right now. Number 4.
NWO. They were 9, I think, when we started the new SHODcast, and they've jumped up 5 spots now. They're humming.
Number 3. This is the Muppet Nation. I think it last week was a tough loss for them. But I think they still have a very good team, and I think they're going to be right up at the top of the table here.
Number 2, Flutie Flakes moved down 1. That can only mean one thing, Mike. Why are you having Van Buren Boys for the first time on season 2 as the number 1 ranked team in the show?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I doubted the Van Buren Boys, but I mean, they just came out and they won, and I don't know. I think until proven otherwise, I think they're the best team in the show.
They keep surprising. The other thing,
and if I knew how little I knew,
the other thing that keeps surprising is the Don Paul bad call. This week, Matt, what's your bad call?
Something I can't understand right now is the NFL's insistence on allowing teams to only use one helmet during the season. And the problem with this is that you don't get quite the palette or the options for different types of jerseys, throwbacks, and alternate jerseys. If you have only one helmet, you're really limited in that way. I mean, how awesome would it be to have the Bills have a week with their red helmets, or even the Falcons with their, red helmets with the black bird on it. They're taking away a lot of different cool options that really don't need to be taken away because there's, I would imagine, not really much change in the protection that's offered by using different types of helmets. In fact, I've seen, quarterbacks use multiple helmets in one game because their radio is not working properly. And, so I don't understand why you can switch helmets that are the same color, but then you can't switch to a different color helmet to fit a different color scheme for a throwback or alternate jersey. It just makes no sense to me.
I do think I read somewhere that they have it down the pipeline that's going to change maybe next year.
Yeah. Why isn't it changed already then? It's just ridiculous.
We'll see. Mike, what's your bad call of the week?
Mine goes to Jamal Adams. On Sunday Night Football, they kind of do the introduction to the offense and defense. And during his introduction, he said Jamal Adams best in the world or something along those lines. And then literally at that moment, the Pro Football Focus ranking came up, and he was like number 62 out of 82 safeties in the league, which just it couldn't have been worse timing for him. And then like later on in the game, Big Ben threw a ball. I mean, Ben was atrocious during that game, but he threw probably like his most line drive throw of the night, and it literally hit Adams in the face mask, and he didn't even react. Like his hands didn't move. So I don't know. They call him Blitz Boy for a reason. He's kind of a gimmicky guy, and he's just really not good at his job.
You know what? My bad call played out perfectly this weekend. I decided this was going to be my bad call on Sunday when two teams kicked to tie or did something to try to tie the game and push it to overtime. But then everything kind of moved back on Monday when the Bills didn't do that. And you know what? I respect McDermott's call on that. I think the NFL should have a rule that if you tie, both teams lose. Because I'm tired of overtimes. The overtime rules are silly, and even if they fix them, I don't know how you're going to make overtime more fun. Make it so that teams are more aggressive. Make it so that teams aren't playing to tie or aren't kicking to tie. The one thing that I do respect about the Bills' call last night is they thought they could win, and they went for it. And you know what? Even though they lost, they get the win in my book just for sticking to their guns. That's my bad call.
How does that factor into the standings?
I mean, if the Bills keep going the way they're going, it might not at all.
No, I meant a win in your book.
Oh, well, I don't make the standings. All right, heading back to the show. We got the Zoe Knows pick of the week. Zoe 2-0. This week, going Van Buren boys over the Flutie Flakes. And new this week to SHODcast Season 2, we're also having the dogs pick a line of the week. And this week, Zoe is going Cincinnati +6 at Baltimore. Matt, why that game?
Yeah, well, first of all, with the Van Buren boys, again, this is a team that's rolling. They're putting up a ton of points. Plus, Flutie Flakes has all the Bills on a bye this week. So it's going to be a real problem for him to, field the roster because I don't think he's got another quarterback besides Allen. And B, all of his good players are out. So I don't see any way Van Buren boys doesn't win this week. It's the lock of the week. It's an easy pick. Van Buren boys is going to go to 6-1 or whatever he is.
And your other lock is Cincinnati +6 at Baltimore. You think Cincinnati's got it to at least make a close game?
I do. I like Cincinnati a lot this week. I think Baltimore is coming off two big wins. They had a huge comeback against the Colts on Monday Night Football, and then they really took it to the Chargers this past Sunday. They just took them out of the game completely. Cincinnati is a team that's both these teams are 3-3 against the spread this year, but Cincinnati is actually slightly better than Baltimore when it comes to against the spread plus minus. So I think that Cincinnati has a better chance of hanging tight against Baltimore. And I feel like Baltimore is going to come, they're going to have a letdown week. I think, they just played so well over the past 2 weeks, and Cincinnati, I think is a team that can do that. So I like them +6.
The ride or die pick of the week. Riders 0-2 this week. Choosing the New World Order over My Team is Fine. And this is a common theme. Like, My Team is Fine showing up in the dog picks, but this time he's on the other side.
Yeah, no, his team is not fine. They're in an absolute free fall right now. I don't want to say it, but I feel like at some point in time they may be hanging out by Steve. So we'll see what happens.
Riders NFL game of the week. Atlanta -1.5 at Miami.
Yeah, we saw who Miami is last week. They lost to the worst team in the NFL. Second worst team. Detroit's worst, but they lost to the Jaguars.
Houston's pretty bad too. Pretty bad too.
Houston beat the Jaguars, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
There's a lot of bad teams.
Yeah, there are a lot of bad teams. But yeah, Atlanta's coming off the bye. They're getting Ridley back from his whatever his issue was, personal issue. I think Pitts is coming into his own, and I definitely like Atlanta.
Taking the Falcons.
Yeah, -1.5.
The Snoop sleeper pick of the week. Snoop also 0-2 after picking the dog 2 weeks in a row. We go with the dog again. I said last week that Snoop wanted to go with the dog until the dog wins, but this week, no. I convinced him to go with Muppet Nation over the Charbacues. Just don't think the Charbacues have what Muppet Nation can bring. My game of the week is taking Denver plus 3.5 at the beat up Cleveland Browns. They don't have Jarvis Landry. They've got a banged up quarterback. They don't have either of their running backs on Thursday night, and OBJ is oft injured and also injured. Wasn't T. Higgins also injured, Matt?
Yeah, but he doesn't play for either of these teams.
Who's the Higgins I'm thinking of on Cleveland?
Rashad.
No, their star wide receiver is Donovan Peoples-Jones now.
Right. Yeah, they're really struggling. So.
Yeah, but just to put it out there, we don't just give out picks. We're putting our money where our mouth is. So we're doing our Shod parlay of the week.
Yeah, we put $30 down, $10 each on each of those games in a parlay. So
we actually took the Broncos outright. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
What
happens. Let's see if we can win some money this week. If you're banking on my pick, though, I wouldn't expect it because I'm 5-9 while you're both 8-6 on the Shod picks of the week. Let's see if I can make it up this week. I said Muppet Nation is Snoop's lock of the week, but everyone going against me with the Charbacues. Why?
Yeah. I just love the Charbacues matchup this week. I think that Kansas City Chiefs, against the Tennessee Titans is going to be points. And, he's got Mahomes and Kelsey, that stack. I think it's just going to eat this week. So I like the Charbacues.
I don't.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think this may be the only time all year I'm picking the Charbacues.
New World Order against my team is fine. Can the New World Order come up with a win?
Yeah, I think so. It's tough right now for my team is fine. I mean, we were talking earlier on this year about the Panthers onslaught, and it seems that the Panthers have turned back into a pumpkin here just in time for Halloween, and it's not looking good.
Height, you're going NWO too.
I am until McCaffrey comes back. I'll be picking against the dog.
You know what? I'm bringing back the nation bets. I'm going against everyone else, and I'm picking the dog on this one. I think we've got what it takes. 5-9. Fuel the rush against the Rusty Truckers. Matt, you got any faith in your team?
Yeah, I do this week. I picked against my team for the Zonos pick of the week last week, but I think the Truckers have it. I like. The Rams against Detroit this week. I think they're going to put up some good points. And Kamara's coming off a good rest and a bye, and they've got a good matchup on Monday night. I think they're playing against who do they got on Monday night?
Who?
The Saints. They're like a 5-point favorite on the road. Anyway, I think I feel pretty comfortable with the Truckers this week.
Height, you think the same thing?
I also think that the Truckers are going to come through. I mean, the Rams playing against Detroit, I think the game might be over by the beginning of the second quarter, but they may have already scored 30 points by then. So, yeah, I think they're going to come out with a W.
The nation going against the grain. Jay Walsh football team against Armin Tanzarian. Matt, you're going Armin.
Oh gosh, these are just two bad teams. It's hard to pick one. So yeah, this is going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Armin. I like Armin a little bit better.
Well, someone's going to move up power rankings. Height.
Yeah, I'm also going Armin. I think Hunt being out for the Jay Walsh football team is going to be a big loss.
Nation against the grain.
You're gonna be
fine. I'm going Jay Walsh football team. I think he's higher in the power rankings for a reason.
You're gonna be 5-16 by the end of this.
Lafferty against the Fat Jims. Matt, you're siding with the brother on this one.
Yeah, Jim's is looking good. I mean, his team is pretty strong. Thielen's starting to get a lot of balls. Jonathan Taylor is really coming into his own and playing well. Thielen's on a bye this week?
He sure is.
Okay. I don't think it matters, Jim.
Well, that's why Height's picking his team. He knows exactly why. He's already done his scouting.
Because Thielen's on a bye.
Well,
he
also has Cousins on a bye too. And Neil only has 2 quarterbacks, so
that's a good point.
Yep. No, I'm not picking my team because they're playing well. I'm picking my team because of all the buys on Neil's side. So I mean, I have Jefferson now, which is not great, but I think we'll overcome.
All right. Since I can't go against the grain on this one, I guess I'll side with Matt. Mike, I just think your team sucks.
Thank you.
Matt, you're taking BBB over the Flutie Flakes in this top matchup of the 1 and 2 top ranked teams.
Yeah, once again, I mean, I this was my Zonos pick of the week. I think Van Buren Boys is going to absolutely pummel the Flutie Flakes this week. For the reason of the Van Buren Boys being an excellent team, but also the Flutie Flakes with every single Bill. I think there's 4 starters on his roster that are on a bye, so it's going to be a problem. The
Flakes on a bye, Height. You're also going BBB.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same reasons Matt said, but it's pretty obvious that when Brian picks every Bill during the draft, like there's going to be that week when the Bills are on a bye. It's just going to get ugly. You could say that's smart. You're just going to take a loss the 1 week and then just have nobody else on a bye. But that was not part of the thought process. I promise you.
They've served them well so far, but I got to agree with you guys on this one. I can't go against the grain on this one. I'm taking Van Buren Boys. Last game of the week, Trek against the Rafi Bombs. Matt, you're going with?
Yeah, Trek. Both of these teams kind of need to win to stay in the mix here. I feel like they're both kind of scraping. Obviously, Trek has more points, but I think this is one of those games that I think the cream rises to the top, and Trek just has performed better week in and week out than Rafi Bombs. I've been a Rafi Bomb supporter all year. I think that they should be a better team, but I'm just about done. I think Trek wins this one.
With 843 points in the show, Trek has the most. Height, you're also taking you're taking the points on this one.
I am. I think Rafi Bombs, they've run into a couple buzzsaws. I mean, they put up 155 points last week and lost. Like, they've just gotten really unlucky. But I mean, with Trek, like, I think in the Chiefs Titans game, there's gonna be 80 plus points scored, and Henry's probably gonna run for 204 touchdowns. So no way to overcome that.
I'm also gonna go with Trek. I can't bet against the points, even though now that I reversed it, Trek is second last in the league in points against, meaning they've had the most points scored against him. So maybe that trend continues and Rafi Bombs pulls up the win, but I think they're going to need to put up a lot of points to do it. Talking points this week. The first, overtime rules.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit earlier. I think, Sean, you brought it up during your Don Paul bad call. And I just think we got to consider, for the NFL, making some changes to the overtime rules. More specifically, you're getting everything is kind of hinging on the coin toss. The team that gets the ball first, they have such a huge advantage by being able to go down and score a touchdown and the game is over. We know how important it is to, make proper, good analytic decisions. And, when teams know that all they have to do is score a touchdown, they're going to go for it on 4th down. They're going to start to, manage the game differently and play for all 4 downs because there's nothing left to play for after you lose the ball. The other team just going to kick a field goal. So I don't know, and maybe you guys can kind of chime in on this. I don't know how they would change the overtime rules. My first thought would be a college style overtime, but it's going to totally mess up the betting market. The over-unders are going to be totally changed. There's going to be differences in, how teams are favored. And so I don't think the NFL is prepared to do that type of thing because of the betting market. And I think they understand that. But maybe you guys have some ideas on other things besides giving teams losses on both sides.
Well, I'll also chime in on it. I think that's the best solution, to be honest with you, after thinking about it for a while this weekend. But basically, the idea behind it is I want to be able to force coaches to play aggressively and not play for the tie. Don't kick these dink and dunk field goals with 3 seconds left to go for the tie when you could have used that time to go for a touchdown or something. And also it emphasizes clock management. A lot of teams might take up the whole time. The Bills did this last night. They took up the whole time marching down the field, and then just for them to kick a field goal to tie. I don't know. I like to see the Bills go for it in there, but I want the rules to kind of force them to do that.
Well, a lot of using the clock at the end of the game is to not allow the other team to potentially score points coming back. So it's not just to,
right.
You're not just doing it for the sake of, preparing for overtime. You're also doing it for the sake of, stopping the other team from scoring again after you score. So I think that's the main reason teams drain the clock out towards the end of the game. They want to be able to make the decisive, decision on what happens, whether it's send the game to overtime or win it in regulation. I'm with you. I think that, trying to be more aggressive towards the end of the game is a better option because you don't know. It's a coin toss. If you lose that coin toss, you're probably going to lose the game because the other team is just going to go down and score a touchdown. It's such an offensive league now. It's such a pass first league. It's so generated and so it kind of, shifted towards the offense. It's hard to stop a team when they know they have to score a touchdown to win the game. And that's the only option. So I think there needs to be some change where, maybe both teams have a chance to score a touchdown in overtime. That way, the game's not over after one touchdown, or maybe, instead of kicking an extra point, you have to go for 2 in overtime so that, there's a little bit more variance in how the game might progress after that. So maybe you have one possession apiece, whether there's a touchdown or not, whoever's ahead after that would be the winner. Or, if both teams are still tied, then it goes to sudden death at that point. I think you're still, giving teams a little better chance to, actually make a difference in the game rather than just kind of having the coin toss decide everything.
Yeah, no, I feel like it should be, it used to be whoever won the coin toss essentially was going to win because a field goal won it. And then they changed it to a touchdown. I think it should just be each team gets a possession, gets a chance to answer, kind of like college, but not starting at the 30-yard line or whatever. It should just be, I think it should be an untimed period of play until one team outscores the other one.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The only thing it's all about the betting market. You if you go to overtime and then, you end up scoring, in an untimed game, end up scoring like another, 30 points or something like that, then it's going to totally change everything. So
the second talking point for this show is the 2 flex is great again. This was my talking point because we've seen a lot of running backs injured. And I don't know if either of you play in a league where you have to start 2 running backs, but it's so freaking frustrating, especially if you have a wide receiver sitting on the bench because you can't start him over someone else, but you have to put in some scrub running back just because you have to. The 2 flex is great for this reason. Running backs get injured too often, and wide receiver depth is very big. So I love the 2 flex option in the show. I just wanted to state that.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great part of the show is that there's so many flexes. And I still don't love super flex just in a 14-team league, but it's fine.
I love it. I'm here for it.
So I can easily take devil's advocate on this one because I think 2 running backs is an excellent way to play fantasy football. For the same reason I enjoy Superflex. I think position scarcity actually rewards people who do a good job preparing for the draft. And, when you have guys on your bench who can potentially score a lot of points at the running back position and aren't necessarily the bell cow guy or a top 10 pick at the running back position, that gives you an advantage over everybody else who's drafting. So my personal opinion is that you should have to start 2 running backs, even in a 14-team league. But, with the situation being what it is and having, right now, the ability to just start 1 running back and kind of go receiver onslaught, that's where you see, teams like, Feel the Rush flourish. He takes 1 running back and then just completely dumps on the rest of his roster in that position and just takes a bunch of receivers. Works out well for him because he's not spending a lot of auction dollars on a position that that has to allocate a lot of dollars towards it. Running back is going to always be the most expensive position over receiver, and he recognizes that and he exploits it. So kudos to him for that. But I think 2 running backs is the way to go.
No, I mean, I would like to see it only for the ability to see some of the names that are being started in a 14-team league at this point in time. But Sean, I do want to ask you, like, if you love super flex and you love it because of position scarcity, how do you balance that against running back? Because it's such the thing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for getting ahead here and talking points, just trying to move things along. But the last thing I would add on that is you can still go running back heavy. That's what's great about the flex option. Is I think there's draft strategies when you add that flex option. You can have a team that's running back heavy. You can have a team that's wide receiver heavy. You can even have a team that's tight end heavy. I tried that a few years ago. Didn't really work out for me, but it's been done. So it's sort of like a draft strategy that you can choose. When you have the 2 running backs up there, you're sort of like pulling your hair out, going like, I need a running back. What's going on? And then if someone gets injured, you're screwed.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there.
So the long TD bonus, Mike, what's this?
I'm just not a fan of long TD bonus. I think it's very gimmicky. I don't know. I mean, it's only 2 points. It's not a huge deal, but I don't know if this is like from way back in the beginnings of the show, but I don't know. I was the beneficiary of it last week. I mean, Mac Jones threw that touchdown to Bourne, and I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of these kind of gimmicky add-ons.
Yeah, explain why you think it's gimmicky specifically.
Well, I mean, why is 75? Is it 50 or 70? 75.
Do you think it's like kind of an arbitrary number? Or
yeah, it's just an arbitrary number. Like I'm all for like 100-yard bonuses for rushing and receiving, or 400 for passing, but this is just like, it's just like such an arbitrary number that I don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it is a little bit confusing. I mean, big plays happen all the time in the NFL, and I think I guess the argument for the long touchdown bonus is it's a big play, so it's a big momentum swing, and that can be rewarded with fantasy points because it matters in the game. So I guess I understand that part of it. But you're right.
My argument would be, if you get tackled at the 1-yard line, you still gain 75 yards. Like, why is, I mean, you're already getting a 6-point reward for scoring the touchdown. Like, what's the extra 2 points for if the guy had already gained the same amount of yardage on a play? A
76-yard touchdown is still worth, what would that be, 13.6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing holds true for if you have a player who catches a 60-yard catch, it's a big play, and then they catch a 20-yard touchdown, they end up scoring more points for that play because they caught 2 balls when, maybe they got tackled on a kind of a play they shouldn't have been tackled on if they went the whole way, and scored a touchdown on the play instead of catching an extra ball for a touchdown. You actually score more points for doing a worse job, arguably, So I think there's some variance that comes with scoring that's kind of unavoidable. I don't really feel strongly about the touchdown bonus one way or another, but it's definitely an interesting discussion.
Moving along. The Watson trades of the week. This is new to the SHODcast season 2. We're going to go over 3 different trade proposals that were offered by IBM Watson. The first one, Bryan Edwards and Clyde Edwards-Helaire for DJ Chark and Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah, this is one that I saw that was popped up on my screen today, and I thought it was very interesting because DJ Chark is out for the season, yet Watson is suggesting that I acquire him in a trade. So I got a kick out of that one.
Yeah, I mean, this is 4 unusable guys right now, so I don't know.
The next one, AJ Brown and is that T. Higgins? Yeah, that's T. Higgins, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
T. Higgins from Mike Davis and AJ Dillon.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those ones that's just way lopsided. Like, I don't know if Watson is just overvaluing AJ Dillon. Like, they think he's going to score 9 points. And then I don't know, Mike Davis as though he's not also running back too behind Patterson. It's really interesting because AJ Brown and T Higgins are both really good fantasy options. So I don't understand why you'd be able to make that move. Like New World Order is going to laugh at you if you make that.
Watson's a big fan of two running back leagues.
Yeah, I guess so.
The last one, Alan Lazard, and is that Deontay Harris? Damian Harris. For Cooper Kupp.
It's another one that
I'm not doing well with
names
today.
This is another one that popped up on my screen. I thought it was funny. Like, I mean, I guess the whole proposition. I mean, if you're canceling out players like Lazard and Booker are probably pretty analogous. They're both useless. And then when it comes to like Kupp and Harris, I mean, there's a pretty clear winner here. I don't know why I would want to trade away the number one receiver in football for either or both of these players, whether Booker's included in the deal or not. So this is a pretty bad deal as well.
I mean, they're projected to score less than Kupp by himself. So that just tells you everything you need to know.
You're going to be getting a trade offer from Fielder Rush this week.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be this exact
actually
one.
I think Rob may actually listen to Watson when he makes his trade proposal.
Heading into this or that, Matt.
It worked against Lacombe.
Too soon.
Score one for Watson.
Heading into this or that, I got a question for you two. Are you banking the rest of your season on Mike Evans or Antonio Brown, both on the same team?
I'm definitely picking AB. Brady just loves him. I mean, he insisted that they come down. He wanted to come to New England. He came, played one game, scored a touchdown, and then was never heard from him again. And then, he was out one game earlier this year with COVID, and he still put up the same number of points pretty much as Evans. And I mean, Brady's just always looking for him. He's kind of like his safety blanket at this point in time, especially with Gronk out. Like, I think AB is the biggest beneficiary of Gronk being out, and I don't know. I think AB outscores Evans by the end of the season by a significant number, barring injury.
Well, right now it's very close. I think AB has 0.5 points above Mike Evans. Matt?
He's played one less game though.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I would choose Brown as well. But I'll make the argument for Mike Evans. I think that Mike Evans' touchdown upside is much higher. I think he's a better red zone target. I think it would be likely that he probably scores more touchdowns at the end of the year than AB. He's going to have less targets, I think, but he's a bigger body receiver. He's probably more gifted in going up and getting balls and 50-50 positions, which is something that Tom Brady will trust him with. I think probably even more so than Antonio Brown. So both two excellent receivers. I mean, Godwin's not even on this list right now, and you have the best receiving group in the league, and it's not particularly close.
Who's that Pokemon?
This week we have a new fantasy player to introduce. Here are your hints. In 2018, he put up 40.5 points this week in Week 6. He earned 225 yards of total offense in Week 6, and he helped my team, the Muppet Nation, defeat the Headless Thompson Gunners, 149.7 to 144.4. Any early guesses?
I'm just like a beating poll here, like just getting like on these Pokemon. My team gets getting slaughtered every week. Man, this is gonna be tough because we don't even get a team here, so this is tough.
No team this week. These are the hints.
Yeah, this is tough. I don't really know. 2018 is relatively recent, and he scored a lot of points. So I'm assuming
40.5. That could be a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, it's either wide receiver or running back, certainly. But this is tough. I don't know. This is 225 yards of total offense. Makes me feel like it's a running back because
it looks like Julian Edelman's hair, so I'm gonna go with Julian Edelman.
That's a good guess.
Any final comments, Matt, Mike?
No, I don't think so. I mean, let's keep rolling. The show is great this year. I think it's super competitive. Everybody's got a chance. Even the bottom feeders, I think, just a couple wins away from making the playoffs. So, who knows? Anything can happen. There's injuries aplenty, so teams are getting kind of tipped upside down. And, I think it's just a super entertaining year in the show this year.
Well, that's all the time we have this week. Stay tuned for another episode next week of the SHODcast.